We just have a few more people coming up, so just bear with us for a minute here. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? How you doing? Okay. Welcome to One Police Plaza. This past weekend was a milestone in our ability to provide a safe event for the people of this great city. I want to repeat that again. This was a milestone to provide a safe event for the people of the city, not just in Brooklyn, but of course throughout the 5 boroughs. And standing behind me, to my left and my right, you're seeing many of the people responsible for that success. And boy, did they work hard. Now, we have representatives from the FDNY, the New York City Sheriff's Department office, the Department of Buildings, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the Department of Environmental Protection, the Sanitation Department, and the Taxi and Limousine Commission, among others. I just want to introduce some of the commissioners that are here. Jessica Tisch, Commissioner of the Department of Sanitation, Eric Ulrich, Commissioner of Buildings, Laura Kavanaugh, Commissioner of course, the Fire Department of New York, Rohit Agarwala, Commissioner of Environmental Protection, Anthony Miranda, New York City Sheriff, David Doe, Commissioner of the TLC, Ashwin Vasan, Commissioner of the Department of Health, Deanna Logan, Director of the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, Anthony Newell, Executive Director of BEVO, Lawrence Moses, New York City Department of Transportation, and of course also Pastor Guilford Monroe, he's the Mayor's Clergy Liaison, and we also have Fred Kreisman, Community Affairs Commissioner. Also, we have here a lot of other people here that are going to be speaking, but I want to introduce, of course, here we are in One Police Plaza, of course, our executive staff, starting off, of course, with Police Commissioner Keishant Sewell, Edward Caban, First Deputy Commissioner, Kim Royster, Chief of Transportation. We also have down here Chief of Patrol Jeffrey Madry. And we also have with us Assistant Chief Michael Kemper, he's Patrol Borough Brooklyn South, and Assistant Chief Judith Harrison, Patrol Borough Brooklyn North. Now, we are being on topic for this press conference because tomorrow we also have another very, very important presser here releasing our August numbers. They're very important. I think you'll find these numbers very interesting in terms of how we are dealing in this city collectively here to deal with the problem of combating crime and making people safe. We are going to now present the Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, one thing I inherited when I became the mayor of the city, I remember speaking to Bernadette from the Post, saying that this place was a mess. And it was. It was not a mess because of the people. It was a mess because we build these imaginary walls and barriers. And we really never was there to stand with the men and women every day that carry out the function of having the city this complex operate. And we saw the failures over and over again. And we had to rebuild a team. We had to rebuild a team that didn't operate in silos, that operated together. And that was a challenging thing to do. And we put together the heads of agencies. Some of them were veterans that were around government for a long time, but also those who were new and just had a desire of doing the job they were hired to do. If you were DSNY, you just wanted to have a clean city. If you were NYPD, you wanted people to be safe. If you were TLC, you wanted to make sure that those who were driving people and for hire vehicles were doing their jobs. And that's what we had to accomplish. And I came to a head this weekend with Juve. We all know it. We know the ritual. You pick up the paper the day after West Indies Day weekend, and you look at the number of homicides, how many shootings took place, what happened at the parade. It didn't happen this weekend. It did not happen. Why? Because 4 days out, we brought together our commissioners, and we said we're going to be a team. We're going to continue the teamwork that we have been producing throughout the last 9 months. So instead of New York City Police Department having to do everything to keep our city safe during Juve, double parked vehicles in residential communities, that were often ignored, we did not do that. We had with the NYPD, the Department of DOT was there to immediately tow those vehicles or give them a clear signal that it is not acceptable. Loud parties where people disregarded those who wanted to live in their communities and would play music into the late evening hours. NYPD was no longer there alone. We had DEP there who had sound meters. And we told the residents and those who were having the bars and other celebrations that if you did not comply, you will have a summons in the mail, and we will take equipment if need be. And those makeshift locations where year after year we had shootings coming from, every year, we knew they were trouble spot using the data from the police department. NYPD was not able to go inside in previous years to tell them they could not use their locales, but this time we were able to do so. Why? Because we had the Department of Buildings with us who utilized their authority to go inside and close down those establishments before they became trouble spots. We used the full scope of every agency and their capabilities. These men and women who are here, here with us today, Sunday night, they were there days before from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. And they were not doing it complaining. For those 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, they were willing to do their jobs and coming together and operating as a team to make our city safe. And because of that, we saw a celebration without that traditional violence that was attached. We walked through the parkway, and during the day, people stated we were expecting to read the headlines, what we traditionally heard and what we traditionally saw. It wasn't there. We know our capabilities. We had to dismantle those walls. We had to bring down the feeling that we were in it alone. And we had to have the backs of each other. No one invites a cop to a birthday party. They invite them there when the party was shot up. No one invites the sheriffs to come and attend an event. They invite him there when it's time to carry out his duty or his job. But I just want to say thank you to all of our city agencies, to the men and women who came together and stated we have a good product. That product lies in our people. Those people have been often ignored, and they're not going to be ignored under this administration. And then our civilian partners, the crisis management team, they were out there every day, making sure they quelled the conflicts before they materialized. Pastor Morose and the Guard Squad and the other volunteers, our city came together to stop a tradition of not allowing our Caribbean diaspora to celebrate with the level of peacefulness they deserve. I was proud to walk up the Parkway. I was proud to represent this city as the mayor as we dealt with celebrating the return of the Caribbean Day Parade in Juve and making sure that we can keep people safe. 0 fatalities at the parade, 0 homicides. The best of New York was served by the best people in New York, and that is the men and women that makes up the organizations and agencies of this city. And I'm proud to be the mayor of this city and the agencies that are involved. I want to personally say thank you on behalf of the 8.8 million New Yorkers that watch you do your job every day, going unnoticed, but you carry out that performance every day. I want to turn it over to our amazing police commissioner. Thank her and her team for what they accomplished. Police Commissioner Keyshawn Sewell.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. Again, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to highlight our collective hard work and the positive measures that were implemented that put public safety front and center as we approach this past Labor Day weekend. As you know, the holiday weekend marks the unofficial end of summer, which this year in New York City saw the in-person return of the annual Juve and West Indian American Day festivities. Without question, the reason that the event ran smoothly and as safely as it did is the exhaustive, collaborative efforts of many of the people representing the agencies in this room. But nothing was more important to our success than the partnerships and relationships we forge with the people we serve. I'm talking about the Juve City International and the West Indian American Day Carnival Association, of course, but I am also talking about the millions of residents, workers, and visitors to all the neighborhoods in Brooklyn and beyond, wherever we had special events. New Yorkers have embraced what they know to be a reality, that public safety is truly a shared responsibility. Without full community buy-in, none of this would have been possible. Prior to the weekend, Chief of Department Ken Corey went over our plans and told you that when it comes to safeguarding large events around the 5 boroughs, our mantra is preparedness, and it always has to be. Arm in arm with our partners, our planning was thoughtful and comprehensive. And by working with every public and private stakeholder, we delivered a successful and enjoyable time. We are all very aware of the incidents of the past, as the mayor stated. This year, from the organizers to the marchers to the drummers and dancers to all of the agencies tasked with making sure things stayed safe for all involved, there were people who believed and knew that things could be done differently while maintaining all that is amazing about the festivities and allowing everyone to enjoy the culture and diversity that makes New York City so great. Chief of Patrol Jeff Madry will now discuss some of the details we enacted that helped make us have the 3rd best Labor Day weekend this city has seen related to violence in the modern Compstadt area. Chief Madry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner Sewell. Thank you to everybody here. I did my first Juve 2001 as a lieutenant in the 6-7. And when I just sit here and think about it, how much I ran around that night, shooting after shooting, stabbing after stabbing, tragedy after tragedy. When I look at 2022 and what we did this year, and even looking back through the years, how we continuously evolved and became better and better at celebrating Juve and policing Juve. But I think this year, through my eyes, I've seen the best collaboration with the NYPD, multiple city agencies, our crisis management system, in the community. We all had an overarching goal to make sure that this celebration came back. We wanted everyone to really celebrate. It's been a long 2 years, but it was all about safety. Safety. We wanted a peaceful event, and the last thing we wanted to do was conduct enforcement out there. The last tool we wanted to resort to, which we would do if need be, but it was absolutely the last thing we wanted to do. And the event was incredibly successful. I mean, you could feel the love in the air out there over the past 2 days, the people saying thank you and the support they were giving to the men and women of the police department and all the agencies. The thank yous. I took hundreds of pictures out there with people in the community because they were just so happy to be back and celebrating peacefully. A lot of time and energy went into this planning and preparation. And again, it was a collaborative effort, and everybody stepped up and did what we needed to do to make sure, again, that this event was peaceful, that it was safe, and that our communities can feel like they were able to celebrate and have a good time without the police or any city agency all on top of them. I want to give a special thank you to Pastor Monrose from the God Squad, Kamara Jackson from Elite Learners, A.T. Mitchell from Man Up, Anthony Newells from Bevo. Let me tell you how refreshing it was for me personally to hear members of this department calling for them, hey, we need God Squad over here. We want to break up a party. We want to tell people they have to turn the music down. when they were seeing elite learners standing out there 4 in the morning on Nostrand in Church, one of our toughest corners every year. This was done differently, and this is why we were so successful. I want to take time to say thank you to those very handsome-looking men and women over there. They look so good in those uniforms there, from the Chief of Patrol's Community Response Team. This was something when I took over Chief Patrol, I decided to create, and it was just really about showing leadership and be able to address quality of life and help out the communities as they called. And what they did out there over the weekend, all the men and women of the police department, what they did out here this weekend. But this group of men and women seizing 40 illegal ATVs and dirt bikes out there on the parade route, after the parade route, during Juve. Taking 2 illegal firearms off the street. Working closely with the sheriffs, with the Department of Buildings, with DEP, with the fire department, with sanitation, DOT, TLC. We were able to go to house parties and show a lot of restraint and let people still celebrate. DEP used the sound meter, and we were able to tell people the proper level they could have their music playing without it breaking the law and without disturbing their neighbors. And we did that effectively multiple times out there. As the mayor mentioned, a place on Ralph Avenue, historically, that we had trouble with. This year, going as a team, being able to use the administrative power of the other agencies, we were able to stop problematic places before they even got off the ground. So it was very important. And again, just all the men and women who were out there standing tall, alert, on their feet for long hours, doing a great job and making sure everybody was safe. And that's why we're able to stand here today and report no homicides at Juve, no homicides at the Labor Day Parade. And again, thank you to everybody here for the collaboration. Now, I had a leadership role in here. We all had a leadership role. But there was one leader who I would like to bring up who lived this, who immersed himself into Flatbush, into Juve, into Labor Day. And he was able to bring the community together, bring the resources together better than any time I've ever seen before. Chief Kemper, the borough commander of Brooklyn South, please come up. And I personally thank you for what you did out there this weekend.
Thank you, Chief Madry, for your kind words. Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, to everyone in the room, I'm so excited to be here, and I wish I had hours to speak to you about just how good I feel right now and the reasons why. Planning, execution, and results. And trust me, there was so much planning that went into this weekend. And the results? Well, the results, they speak for themselves. The collaboration to ensure safety and to allow celebration for the community was like none other. A big goal of ours going into this weekend, certainly, was to recognize the deep meaning of what this weekend represents to the community, Caribbean community, but also to allow celebration. And very importantly, how can we as a department achieve this by avoiding unnecessary police-community conflict? Think about that. How can we not make the narrative against the police and allow the community to celebrate? I just want to thank a few people in this collaboration for really, really coming together and getting this done. First and foremost, our greatest asset, in my opinion, and I might be biased in saying this, the NYPD. My team at the NYPD, in particular Patrol Borough Brooklyn South, worked tirelessly for months to put this together. My team knows who they are. I can't mention every name. Just understand this. I am so appreciative and thankful, and I'm privileged to work alongside you. To every cop in New York City that worked this weekend, whether it was Juve, West Indian Day Parade, and I think some people forget everything else that was going on this weekend, particularly in Brooklyn. We had a series of 6 concerts over 3 nights behind the Brooklyn Museum, Caribbean themed. We had a large children's parade that occurred Saturday morning that crossed across Eastern Parkway, attended by thousands. We had a series of events in Coney Island, Brooklyn, Caribbean concerts, bands, DJ music. The Cyclones were nice enough to have a couple of games throughout the weekend also, and we got the job done. To our partners that helped us and worked with us, in particular Mayor Adams, you and your team at City Hall, to every city agency that participated. Again, not enough time to speak of all of them, but they know who they are. True collaboration with all our city partners, in particular from City Hall. Mach J and their relationship with us, probably a relationship and a system put in place that has never been done before. The Community Affairs Unit, led by Commissioner Fred Kreisman, active participants in our planning and moving forward. Of course, to the event organizers, WIATCA and Juve City International. To our clergy was with us in training and boots on the ground, with us on the ground at certain situations that we were trying to avoid conflict, to help mitigate problems from getting big. Same thing with our violence interrupters. To the elected officials that were with us in our planning and our execution of our plans, thank you so much. And again, I'm going to end it with this, and I apologize if I left anyone off. There's way too many people that were involved in this. To the team at the NYPD, you guys and gals are 100% the greatest cops in the world. Keep your heads up and be proud.
No, just kidding. Good morning to everyone. As a proud son of St. Lucian parents, immigrants to the U.S. Virgin Islands and born in the Virgin Islands, again, it has always been my distinct pleasure to have the then borough president, who is now the mayor, Mayor Eric Adams, to entrust in me the care and the culture of the Caribbean after some really high-profile shootings in Brooklyn. And over the years, we have developed a really conservative but very consistent way of dealing with community conflict. What is not going to be reported, of course, Chief Kemper mentioned, a lot of conflicts. We spent 36 hours. Our time on the ground was 36 hours. And thank you for putting this press conference at 1 o'clock, because we'll still be sleeping. But 36 hours, the men and women of clergy stood on those familiar places, mitigating conflicts, working with the NYPD, working with law enforcement, working with department heads. Thank to the police commissioner again for giving the resources needed to do this. Thank you again to Deanne Logan and everyone at Mach J, who is closely working not only with Cure Violence, but also with community leaders, anti-violence group on the ground. Juve and Carnival is a great celebration. And I think that it's a gem that has been hidden and really scarred by violence. But if you look at it, in the Caribbean is the safest place in the world. 0 wars, no conflicts. And so for us to be painted even as being violent within a weekend tied into a culture, again, the work that we do and the work that I do as the Fate Advisor to the Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, in this particular role is to make sure that our culture is preserved, but also that people can really enjoy a weekend closing out the summer. So for me, as a faith leader, working, pastoring within the East Flatbush area, working for over the last 8 years with the mayor in Brooklyn and now coming to City Hall, the collaborative effort of CAU with Fred Kreisman and his team and all of the agencies, you will really see that, again, community partnership really can come to this place. I came up with this thought today, is that at the expense of safety is the cost of availability. And we avail ourselves this weekend to be there for our community. And I want to thank again our party promoters who really work with us, individuals, this one individual on President Street in Utica who agreed that he should turn on the music. That for us is really community partnership, and so we want to thank them very much. And I trust and pray that not only that we had a great Labor Day weekend and summer, but we'll also have a great winter as well. Thank you so much. Now I'll call one of our community partners who who was on the ground with us throughout the weekend, Anthony Newells for Bevo. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Glad to be here. I want to definitely say thank you to all of the agencies up here. The collaboration was great. I normally don't bring bags to a press conference, so you got to excuse me for bringing the bags that's under my eyes because I'm definitely tired. I'm definitely going to share that. This took a lot of planning. You know, we put any differences aside, and the only thing that was important to us was collaboration for the city, for the people of the city of New York, safety. I'm still Eric's, Mayor Adams' GSD because we definitely got safety done. We got stuff done, but GSD, hashtag that, getting safety done. And the ladies and the gentlemen and the brothers and sisters up here today absolutely did that. This was weeks and months of planning. And I want to give my crisis management system director, Deanna Logan, a praise, because just when we thought we had it, not only did she was satisfied with it, but she came to our office to make sure we had it. That was something good. Deanna came to Brooklyn, to the Campbell headquarters of Brownsville and Balance Out, and made sure that our detailed plan was accurate and it was for the safety of the people. So definitely we want to thank elite learners. We want to thank Man Up. AT, I know you didn't get no sleep. BTTM, SOS Crown Heights. This was a collaborative effort. I want to thank Chief Madre, Chief Kemper, thank you. This is the city coming together, and I thought and I knew it would because of the leadership of our mayor, Eric Adams. We had over 400 people on Tapscott Street in Brownsville. And the biggest disagreement we had to resolve was if Eric Adams was coming to their juve. Because the people worked together. So Eric, I did tell them, I said, Eric is not going to come to juve. He doesn't dance as good as Gil, so he's going to sing Gil. So Gil, thank you for continuing your relationship with the community. We supported throughout Brooklyn North, Brooklyn South, wherever we was called, the crisis management system, we went. We did resolve many of conflicts that could have resorted to a violent act, but it didn't. We even was bribed into 10 cases of water to end the party early, honestly. But if that's the cost of safety for this city, we are willing to do it. So thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mayor Adams, AT, the Crisis Management System at NYPD. This is something that you're going to see moving forward. No more silos, no more you doing this and we doing that. It's time for the city to come together so the city can be safe. This is everyone's mayor, everyone's police commissioner, and we are here to support New York City and the safety of the residents of New York City. So, Deanna, thank you for your leadership. We're going to continue to support. And Eric Adams, thank you, my brother. I appreciate your leadership. And the brothers and sisters of NYPD, I have to give y'all due, because wherever we said we got this, y'all stepped back and you gave us the opportunity to resolve any potential conflict. So I thank y'all so much. Anthony Newells, Brownsville in, Balance Out. And I represent the crisis management system and Team GSD, getting safety done. Thank y'all. All right.
We're working, sorry. Hi, everybody. So first question I had is, this obviously reminds me of the incident with Kerry Gabay a few years back, and if I remember correctly, he was caught in the crossfire between two crews or two gangs that were shooting. Can you elaborate a little bit on if there was any incidents that were you able to head it off at the pass, where you were able to squash any beefs before they became very violent, before we had another tragic incident like that? And if you could also offer any details, were there any enforcement actions that happened in the weeks leading up to Juve where somebody that was a very known violent offender who was responsible for a lot of violence was apprehended, and because of that there's some correlation to a drop in the violence that we saw this weekend?
So broadly, I think we always have to operate using predictive analysis. And so as it relates to the drivers of violence and the drivers of crime, we have to identify those ahead of time and to be able to get ahead of it. And I think in this instance, working together as a team, we were able to do that. To your question about were there things we were able to head off over the weekend, I think we reported on a gun arrest that we made over the weekend as well. The subject was coming into that area with a firearm, and he was quickly apprehended, and that firearm was seized. So I think everything that we do, we have to be able to project what may or may not happen. We have to be able to deploy our resources so we can head off any trouble before it gets to us. Doing this, as the mayor stated, going up to Juve and to the West Indian American Day Parade, we were out before that time, making sure we addressed issues that could potentially become a problem. So having that forward view and being able to forecast the potential drivers of violence to that area, I think made all the difference.
So this year, when's the last time we didn't have any shootings during this event? Can you tell me? Is this the first time? Chief Madry, probably, I think you could address that.
Last time we didn't have shootings is the question.
You know what? I actually have the information upstairs. I actually took a look at it. I'll get back to you with it, but it's been a while. I mean, even last year, 2019, we had the big MOS involved shooting not too far away. So let me take a look and I'll get that information for you.
Okay, and a second question real quick for you or Chief Kemper. What was the #1 thing you did, tactic-wise, that you think really made a difference this year? Was it getting people to not celebrate at the very beginning of the parade and sort of spacing out the people who are performing?
And Mike, you can jump in and help me out. But I think, we had a lot of resources out there. We had the cops spread out. The cops were alert. We had crisis management out there. They were in their uniforms as well, very visible. And I think it just helped out. Mike had the clergy involved. He had the community involved. Mike did a training where every member of this department saw a video which explained what Juve was about, what the Labor Day parade is about, the meaning culturally, what it's about. And I had an opportunity to turn out a group of men and women at the 6-7 precinct yesterday. And when I spoke to them and told them about my experiences from 2001 till now, and the main thing I pointed out to him was, I did this years ago, and this roll call is totally different because there was a pastor praying for him, and there was a community member out there explaining to them exactly what this weekend was all about. The collaboration was very strong, the best I ever witnessed. And I think it paid off. I think everybody was out there, the message was out there, and the results show.
I'm a dear.
You have something you want to say? That was a good question. What was your #1 thing? There's not enough time to go through everything we did. But since Chief Madry brought up the training, that's something I'm proud of. And it's a component that had so much value. It offered so much value for so many reasons. Transparency. But really, I said this the other day. 31 years ago, I came on this job, and I used to police this event. And we used to get our assignments. And our direction was very simple. Take your post. Didn't understand why we were here. There was no clear direction. The 2022 NYPD is different. So our training going into the weekend for our police officers has really, really been upgraded, if you will. There's many layers. One layer, I'll talk about 3 layers that are probably hold the most value, was training every single New York City cop on the meaning of Juve and West Indian Day Parade. That's #1. That was supplemented by every police officer that attended these events while they were mustered up or standing, ready to go out to their post, were addressed by 2 groups. Check this out. 2 groups addressed them in person. The NYPD, again, reinforcing our training to them, explaining to them why are they here, what does Juve represent, what to expect. And then a member of the community, actually multiple members of the community addressed them in person. Elected officials, every single cop that was assigned to these details or events were addressed by local elected officials and members of clergy, right? Again, elected officials and members of clergy are also members of the community. They have an understanding of what these events mean and what to expect. So I think just to end this with, a New York City cop going to an event, having an understanding of why they're there, what the meaning is behind these events, deep cultural significance, what to expect from why are people wearing makeup, why are people throwing powder, why are people excited. Just having that level of understanding of what they're about to experience, it's nothing new when they see it on the street live in person. So listen, again, I'll end it with this. There's so much that was done this weekend, but just to touch on the training, I thought it was extremely valuable and paid many, many dividends.
Ruvain Borchardt from Hamadia.
Hi. The implication from all the speakers is that things were handled differently and better this year. So I'd like to ask one or more of the chiefs can address how specifically things were done better than in the previous administration.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't get the last one.
Specifically how things were handled differently this year than they were in the previous administration. Thank you.
Well, like I said, and we already touched on the training, but we could touch on the technology. All right, I mean, our use of air support this year, aviation, being up all weekend long, you know, using some of their technology, helping us identify parties that may be too big, being able to go there with different agencies who had the power to do things we couldn't do. I think that that whole plan in of itself gave us an advantage we've never had before in the past. Like I said, we were able to go to a place where historically we had problems. We were able to stop the party before it even got started because we had the Department of Buildings with us. All right, we were able to go not only address 311 complaints and loud music with NYPD, we had DEP there. We allowed a lot of parties to continue because we were able to check the music, show the people what sound level they should be at. The people were very compliant. They cooperated. They did what we asked, and people were allowed to continue their celebration, and we were able to accomplish our mission of answering those 311 jobs. Like I said, there was a lot of support between the various agencies with CMS, and like I said, I believe that this collaboration was the strongest it's ever been. Because it was so strong, we were able to be successful. And officers were out there. They were out there. They're highly visible, spread out. In the one little dust that we did have, the officers were able to stop it right away. So we had no serious injuries, no issues out there.
And if I could I just want to add on to that, which is, I think is so important, that the difference, I think, between what we are doing and what previous administrations were not willing to do is using all of our tools, all of our assets. Public safety is not a police issue. Every agency must be involved in public safety. The training, as we're seeing with these dirt bikes and ATVs, the training that Chief Royster's highway unit trained our officers on how to properly go after these dirt bikes. We've removed hundreds of ATVs, illegal dirt bikes, many of them carrying weapons. When you look at what DOB, Department of Building, is doing, as well as what the sheriff is doing, the sheriff has reinvented that office. Everything from the marijuana, towing the vehicles, to going in and looking at who's selling these illegal bikes. And so we're using and utilizing all of our tools. And what all of these men and women have been saying for many years, Coach, get us in the game. They've been sitting on the bench, and they've been trying to play on team public safety. Well, they got a coach that's putting them in the game.
All right, got time for a couple more. Bernadette Hogan, New York Post.
Thanks. This is for anyone who wants to answer, but why in particular is it this event that is plagued by violence? Chief Madry, you said it's been a while since there hasn't been a bloody celebration. So why is this event different than other festivals that happen throughout the city?
Sure. So we look at all events. Without focusing on this one, obviously we've talked about the events of the past and that this has been plagued by violence in the past, but we look at events across the entire city. And we recognize the fact that this event has been plagued by violence in the past. We have to put the resources there. But make no mistake about it, we do an analysis of all events before we put a plan together.
And then, Commissioner, you mentioned earlier that there was a gun arrest, a firearm. What specifically was that? What happened?
So an individual attempted to enter the area of the parade with a firearm. He was noticed by officers who were assigned, and that apprehension was made and the firearm was seized. It was in the area of the West Indian Day Parade.
All right, we're going to be our last question. Steve Burns, 880.
Mr. Mayor, I know you've talked quite a bit in your time as mayor about the sort of oversaturation of the police response at some of these events and how you were looking to tackle that. I wanted to see how the police staffing levels at this Juve compared to previous Juves, and also how much overtime was used this weekend.
Yeah, and you know, you hear me say over and over again the deployment of our resources. And it was something that the police commissioner and I talked about, the deployment of resources, how we're utilizing our resources. And all of our events, when you do an analysis to her credit and chief of department's credit, they have looked at all of our events and they scaled back on the number of assignments and overtime. Event after event, we are analyzing every event, and we're no longer just going into the file cabinet, pulling out the plan from the previous year. We're thinking differently about the proper deployment of our manpower. Anyone who has attended the parade previously, there was a noticeable difference in how officers were deployed. You didn't see the 20, 30 officers standing at one place. They were along the parade route, and we're going to do even better. We're going to continue to produce a better product over and over again. Because if we utilize the manpower correctly, then we could have our police officers deployed in those areas of the city where we are dealing with real threats. So look at all of these events over this summer, and you're going to recognize how the chief of department was successful under the leadership of the commissioner of properly retrofitting the manpower to where it was needed, looking at overtime, handling overtime correctly, turning out those who can do patrol that are in desk duties. So we're looking at the entire chessboard and produce a better product for taxpayers. They deserve better, and we're going to give them better. And that is what we have saw over the last few months over the summer.
So are you able to say if this year staffing levels were lower this
year? As in, at this event? Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all.
To respond to her, but I didn't know if you wanted to go a little longer. Hey, what's up?
Great job.
Good to see you. Yeah, yeah. Good. Thank you, brother.
You get in here. You're the leader of this. It's easy with these guys. They're great guys.
Chance.